darkness has arrived.
I would like you to meet Ares, the ultimate AI soldier.
He is biblically strong and supremely intelligent.
You think you're in control of this? You're not.
On October 10th.
What are you?
My world is coming to destroy yours, but I can help you.
The war for our world begins in IMAX. Tron Ares, rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13. Only in theaters October 10th. Get tickets now.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hello, Spotify listener! Was it a good idea to employ me, Claptrap, a lovable robot with an admittedly shrill voice, to tell you about the next great looter shooter, Borderlands 4? Of course not! But you are listening, and that's the sick truth of marketing. Behold! Marketing hypnosis! Borderlands 4! Borderlands 4! Borderlands 4! Buy it! Buy it! Succumb to the marketing!
Rated M for mature.
Pie in the Sky Media.
Three, two, one. Hello, Criminal Mischief Nation. Welcome back to another bonus episode of Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Branden. I am your co-host, Brandon Morgan, along with the talented Carolyn Osorio, who we're lucky enough to have with us again today. Hello, Carolyn. Happy autumnal equinox.
I love that. Yes. I love that. It's autumnal equinox.
It was actually at 11:18 Pacific time this morning, where the sun was, directly over the equator. So we had an equal amount of daylight and darkness today. So that's today. And, and if this were a few thousand years ago, pagans everywhere would be celebrating the blah, blah, blah festival.
Or you know what? People would say too, it's the first day of fall.
They might say that's the first day of fall, but it's sad time.
I love a Tom.
It's a sad time because the days are getting shorter. And so for the agricultural communities that existed back then, purely agricultural, it was like, well, shit, hope we got the harvest in because we're going to be screwed all winter. Right. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Can
you imagine staring that down if that was, I don't mean to laugh. It's just
right. That was literally lived and died by the seasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. So it's no wonder why they constructed all
celebrated
elaborate festivals, to celebrate, because just in case the gods are capricious and really give a shit about how we worship, we're going to worship the fuck out of these gods.
I know. Let's cover our bases. Let's cover it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense,
Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah. And they were a kind of a not naughty, but as a people, they, there was a lot of sex involved in their rituals, especially in Saturnalia and the vernal equinox, right? Where the maiden of spring, and is responsible for all of the life.
Maybe I am a little bit into woo-woo.
Right. The horned demon, the horned god that would, ensure, spring breaking free the bonds of winter and all that. Yeah. Really, whoa, okay. We get it.
As long as there's no sacrifice involved.
There was. And then the maiden, once spring has sprung, there's no longer use for the maiden.
That's where it kind of goes a little sideways.
She would be sacrificed. Okay.
Okay.
And so
how did I know that?
Of course.
Okay,
and so then as we progressed as a species, okay, and you're like, that's a little bit extreme. We don't have to kill the maiden of spring.
I mean, a little bit.
So then instead, at the last second, she would be swapped out with a rabbit. And they'd kill the rabbit, which is still fucked up, but at least they're not killing the woman anymore. And they would sacrifice the rabbit.
Love how I bet that men created this
Of course they did.
And they would probably get to have sex before they sacrificed her,
Several of them.
right?
Several of the men. Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds like one of the cases that I would cover.
No, right. But these dudes, they're like, hey, this is for, we gotta have the crops. It's just it's
Yeah.
how it is. Sorry, sweetie.
And she's willing,
And
she's
he's like,
willing to
well,
sacrifice.
I guess. Okay. Yeah. Bunch of
Yeah.
bullshit. Bunch of bullshit. But
Right, right.
now of course it's better with the religions that we have today make a lot more sense.
Yeah, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. This was a little bit fun, but let's not.
Leave it there. So happy equinox.
Happy
I
equinox.
remember when I was in 6th or 7th grade, my science teacher had us balance an egg on the equinox because he said that's the only day on the calendar, 2 days, either autumnal or the vernal equinox, when you could balance an egg on a table because the gravitational pull is as close to even as you're going to get. I don't know if that's bullshit or
Isn't
not.
that interesting how that was? Did you like the teacher?
Oh, he was amazing. Yeah, Mr. Van Houten.
I know it's so interesting how you can have teachers like that,
Yep.
just that. Because like my kids are coming home and I feel so bad for them because they're always having boring days. And I'm like, I remember the boring days. Like you don't forget, right, at
Mhm.
school. And
Yeah.
it's like when you have that teacher that makes it fun
Yeah.
and it's like really like hands-on and it's a practical thing and
Yeah.
just like the egg thing, you remember it
Yeah.
all these years later,
Yeah.
you
Couldn't wait
know?
to go home
So
and show my mom. Look what you can do today. Yeah. My older brother's like, you can do that any day, dipshit. I'm like, no, you can't. You're wrong. Whatever. Because
well,
brothers
didn't you
are.
prove it? Weren't you able to prove it right there?
I think you could balance an egg really whenever if you're patient enough and if you're in I don't think that it has that much to do with equal gravitational pull on the earth. I really don't know. It could have, I honestly
Well,
never
did
looked it
he
up. It could have
did he
just been a
do it?
way, to your point, it could have been a way for the teacher to make it interesting for us and to give a shit about the equinox, maybe. I don't know.
And clearly it stuck.
But I'm going to look
But
it up.
didn't the egg do it? Didn't you guys all go outside and you put the
Yeah,
egg
he
and everybody
balanced
was
an egg,
watching?
but you know what he
I
didn't
didn't.
do was do it the next day or do it 6 months later or a month later or whatever to say like, hey, see, you can't do it
Oh.
now. He didn't disprove it or didn't prove it by failure, right? He just did it one day. And we're like, oh my gosh, balance freaking egg, dude. Yeah. So
Okay, well look it up.
I will.
Let me know what you find out.
I will. I will.
Yeah.
So oh gosh, I hate when you give me stories like this.
You know what's crazy is that I didn't
Oh,
mean to. I didn't mean
oh.
to, but I know. I know. I know. I know. And here's the thing. I didn't mean to. But what, why are you laughing?
No, no, it just, oof, man. This
Because
one's
here,
rough.
here, I have a rule where I will not cover school shootings. I
Yeah,
just won't, you know?
yeah.
But with this, the reason why I decided to cover it was because I feel like the the way that the cruelty and what they did in terms of scaring her,
It's just
I mean,
so
it was like next.
incredibly juvenile and sophomoric and just like little kid, I'm gonna scare you, turn the lights off, like bullshit, right? And the only thing that wasn't juvenile about it was the fact that they murdered a person, right? Otherwise, like who hasn't done or been a victim of something like that, where someone like turns the lights off, like when you're watching a scary movie to scare you. I mean, that's something that
I mean, that's
they
par for the
lacked
course of being a
originality.
kid.
They lacked
Yeah.
originality, which is, I mean, ugh. And just the craziest thing about it was that there's no reason. There's no reason.
I
Just
know.
it's not like they were gonna like Satan told them to do it, right? Or like they were doing it to fulfill some some demonic pact or anything that stupid teenagers have done before, right? Or mentally ill people have done before, or like Berkowitz thought he heard voices, or like the Columbine kids like were outcast and bullied, like these kids just seemed like normal teenagers who just decided why? Like what? We had to kill somebody. Like you hear them talking about it and like we have to do it. Sorry, it's got to be her. But they never said why. Like what did they want to
Well,
get
they
at?
did in their videos, they said they did mention like a rejection of their religion. They did mention Satanism. They did mention, they elevating these, evil, villainous people into, their heroes. And what's interesting is I went back and listened to Brian has done some interviews since, and they've been in prison for like 15 years now, right?
Yeah.
And he was saying how he was watching, all of these videos, and he was really obsessing about the Columbine shooters, and he really wanted to get attention from his classmates. Like he really felt like he wanted their approval. He was kind of nerdy. So it was like, and this is what you know what I mean. So like he has to live with what he did, obviously, but it was almost like too much. Like I couldn't even watch it. I did watch it because I wanted to know, but I felt like, there's so much regret with something like this,
Oh my gosh.
obviously.
Of
And
course.
I don't feel bad for him. I don't feel, you know, when you do something like this, I think the level of cruelty was just so off the charts. Like, there's just no, I don't know. Do you think they should get out of prison, or do you think they should
What,
be
you're
there for the
kidding?
rest of their
No,
lives?
jeez. I mean, I want to get
Well,
really
I mean,
graphic. I won't. I want to get really graphic with what I hope is happening to them in prison right now. But I mean, where my head is. And I want that to happen to them forever. For the first time in my life, maybe I hope hell exists. Okay. And these two motherfuckers go there. Right. Because they had nothing. I mean, it was like they lacked even like creativity. I mean, it was like a crime of opportunity. Oh, hey, she's going to be staying over here. And so we'll go over there and we'll case the place and we'll leave the door unlocked. Like, I, I don't know. I don't know.
so what were you thinking as it was unfolding? Because I'm sure you probably hadn't heard of the case.
No, I hadn't heard of the case.
Had you
And
heard of it?
I hadn't. No, I hadn't heard of it at all. I kind of surrender to your storytelling, right? Like I'm watching a movie or watching Law and Order. I always think the person you're talking about is the person who did it, right? That's what keeps it interesting for me. Like, the boyfriend, he wasn't behaving in a way that a sad person should be behaving. It's got to be him, right? And then I go back later, I'm like, oh, I hope those cops clocked that if someone responds like that, doesn't mean that they're guilty because this kid obviously wasn't guilty. Okay, so
I know
maybe
we've talked about this
right,
so
so
many
maybe
times.
put that in your database, right? And
Yeah.
and stay open-minded. And then like, oh God, the mom's boyfriend. Isn't it always the mom's boyfriend? I'm like, of course
Yeah.
it's that fucking guy. His fingerprints on the fuse box. Okay, duh. Right?
Yeah.
And then it wasn't. I'm like, okay. And but then like, the second commercial break and Law and Order episode, like, oh, here's the piece of evidence that was being withheld when the stone-faced boyfriend who wasn't sad enough, according to the cops, mentions in passing, oh, a couple of buddies came by, but they didn't stick around. Like, okay, what? Let me know about these kids again. What's going on? What's going on? And then all that these idiots do is lie. Where are the movies? No, you weren't. We could find out you weren't at the movies in a second. Um,
Hey, Criminal Mischief Nation. So, fall is in full swing, which means it is the perfect time to refresh your wardrobe. And that's where Quince comes in. Quince has all the elevated essentials for fall. Think 100% Mongolian cashmere sweaters, from $50. Wow. Washable silk tops and skirts, and of course, my go-to during the fall, perfectly tailored denim that you can dress up or down. And at prices, I'm going to be honest, feel a little too good to be true. But here's the thing. Quince partners with ethical, top-tier factories, so there's no middlemen. And then they pass that savings on to us. I recently ordered the most delicious and fun-to-wear black flare-bottom pants, which feel really expensive with just the right amount of stretch and thickness with a midsection cut that adds a little design extra. And since the wool cashmere sweater I also ordered didn't break the bank, I'm now eyeballing one of their wool coats. Again, the design is just so classic, and the clothes are made with the kind of quality fabric that's built to last at half the price of a designer label. So keep it classic and cozy this fall with long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/Criminal Mischief for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/Criminal Mischief to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Criminal Mischief.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you. Ooh. Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan. Real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.
So yeah, that was so there was no way, the way you constructed the episode, there was no way of knowing what was unfolding until we had that piece of information about halfway through, and then it just, and then it became for me, just like it's this macabre theater of the absurd, like just completely no rhyme or reason for why these idiots decided that they had to murder somebody, and that, and and all their bullshit with the video camera and all that, like. And that was nice how that, not nice, but it was a nice bit of structure in the episode, how it comes back to that video in the beginning that they knew it was her and that they zoomed in on her and, and they had this disgusting little secret between the two of them, these kids, and if you listen, and I listened back a couple of times, because the audio is not great, but you can hear.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
But you can hear the inflection, or you can hear their voices. There's a definite change, pre-murder and post-murder. Pre-murder, they're like these hormone-fueled, like, yeah, we got to do it. Sorry, it happens to be you. Oh well, but and then afterwards, they're like, we just did it, man. Oh, we did it. We did it. We did it. You could already hear the remorse starting to build. You can already hear the reality fucking closing in on them, and
it really encapsulated it. I think that for me, like the fact that they had gone over there and engaged with them and knowing it didn't change anything. They still wanted to move forward with what they were doing.
No, but like under what pretense did they show up? Hey, you're a couple. We're going to show up and watch a movie with you. Yeah,
they were friends. They were friends, and they were like, hey, come hang out.
Small town, nothing else to do on a Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, like let's watch movies together. And so they went over and really the only reason why they went over there was to case the joint. And had no, and Cassie Joe was like, "Hey, let me give you a tour. Let me show you around the house." And so she's giving them this tour, and Brian steals away along the door. I think that the when there's like a school shoot, sounds like they wanted to do that was part of their plan, right? There's just this totally like they just go in and just shoot anybody randomly, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to get into it, but with this, it just felt like, this whole idea of like engaging with Matt, the people that you're going to kill, like Matt would have been killed, I believe, and so did the investigators, if he would have been there that night, and they think, if he had been killed, they wouldn't have had enough to connect to these kids. Now, would they have been so dumb that they would have turned on each other, which they would have, I'm sure.
Eventually,
and started
talked or whatever.
Well, yeah, they would start bragging about it because that's what they want,
or they'd go to the next person on their fucking list.
Right, exactly. So it's like, this is what was potentially thwarted, although it was absolutely horrible, that Cassie lost her life for nothing. For absolutely nothing. And it just kills me that she was so dedicated to following through on her commitment and how scared she must have been. Because I had babysat. I didn't babysit much because I was out with my friends. I was like doing stuff, but like, and being in a strange house that's not yours, and the sounds, and then this horrific, the lights going off, and choosing to stay for your commitment. I mean, it's just like, to your point, these guys need to be, burning in hell.
Yeah.
And I usually don't say stuff like that, but like it's just like I just don't get it.
They idolize serial killers. They wanted attention. Problems at home? I mean, did they have other friends? Were they just each other, just this feedback loop of like co-signing each other's bullshit and saying like, yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I've said this before from my own experience in terms of researching the cases and covering these cases that, I think two kids getting together that have some kind of or like romantic partners, like people coming together, and there's just this story that happens between the two of them, whether it's an erotic story and an affair, and they're just like so passionate, and they get to, what people having affairs, and they suddenly become different people. And it's not an excuse. It's just kind of how I think that, people can come together and depending on the pairing, these two paired, and it was like they were in it and were on the same boat. And many people, I had learned through the research that I had done, there was people thought that maybe Tori was the one that was, kind of the mastermind, and Brian was the follower. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They both masterminded it. They both did it.
They both stabbed her. They both lied about being there. They both, I mean, it's all.
But I mean, I think it's, again, the human nature of wanting to try to understand.
Of course, that's the thing.
Why did they do this? And
what was their defense? Did they have any defense at all? Like,
well, they blamed the other one. Each one blamed the other one, so that they could be.
Like, I got talked into murder. Like that's how they blamed it.
Yeah, like I didn't do it.
Right,
like the other one was the one that did it.
Right, but then when the evidence came out that it was more than one weapon that caused the wounds, obviously they were both doing it, right? And so
yeah,
it's probably
So like when it's.
But I'm sorry. But they weren't saying like temporary insanity or anything like that. No, okay.
Not to my knowledge, no, they didn't. Okay. They didn't claim that. But what was interesting is like the in the interrogation where Brian totally came clean, or at least came clean enough to blame it on Tori, because that was what he did at first. He was like, it was supposed to just be a joke. And then, Tori.
He went crazy. Yeah.
He went, yeah. Well, before that, so Brian and his parents go in, and the mom was kind of more stoic, and the dad was sitting next to him and, kind of put his arm around Brian, and you could tell Brian was all amped up and was just like jittery and, getting ready to stuff. And they're like, he's like, I'm going to come home tonight, right? I'm going to come home. And they're like, yeah, you're going to come home. Like, I think that they were like, tell what you know. And they probably didn't even know fully, because he probably, fed them a line of crap that wasn't true. Like, it was all Tori and he made me do it. And, thankfully the videotape, they buried that. I mean, it's like, why would you do that? Maybe they wanted to go back and look at it at some point. That videotape, they tried to burn it, but why wouldn't you just rip it up and like bash it with a hammer and do everything you could if you were covering your tracks? They clearly still wanted to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't, they could have gotten rid of that in a million different ways. They could have thrown it in the lake. They could have, they just, it felt like even though they felt remorse after they did it, they still weren't willing to get rid of that videotape.
They tried to burn it.
They did try to burn it, but.
And then bury it.
Yeah, but like.
It just. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, it's crazy. And there were no warning signs about these kids, like no teachers or parents were like, keep an eye on them.
Here's the thing yeah. Interesting. Cassie's parents and the aunt and uncle whose home she was murdered in, they filed a lawsuit against the high school, the school district, because I guess a couple years earlier when they were in middle school, Brian had threatened to like shoot up the place, just there were threats, and he just said that they were jokes and they were just, whatever. And they ended up not winning that lawsuit, but like there were warning signs with Brian for sure. I don't know about Tori if he was involved in that particular piece of it. Definitely Brian, But as a parent, wouldn't that just make you go insane if you found out that this kid had threatened this a couple of years earlier, and they weren't held liable because they said, how could they know 2.5 years later that he would do something like this?
I'd probably end up in a cell right next to him. To be honest, I don't know what I'd lose my fucking mind.
I know, yeah. But I do think that, what one takeaway is that they both were obsessed with things on the internet and like, and there's nothing wrong with horror movies at all. Like, there's nothing wrong with horror movies, but these kids were obviously like obsessive about it, and maybe Brian's parents didn't know that he was obsessed with the Columbine shooters. That's kind of a huge red flag. Yeah, if you're obsessed with the Columbine shooters, come on,
Oh, wow. All right, well, listen, while I enjoyed the episode, I fucking hated the episode, but it was handled. Yeah. It was handled very, very well, and in a very engaging.
From Pie in the Sky Media, Criminal Mischief is an EVO production, recorded live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself. Music by Soundstripe. For EVO Creative, I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.